From the beautiful campus of Casper College, it's time to dive into the world of Casper College athletics with another episode of the Casper College Coaches Show. Now here's your host, Phil Kohler.
Welcome fans to the Casper College Coaches Show. I'm your host, Phil Kohler. As always, joined by the head basketball coach of the Casper College men's basketball team, Coach Tom Parks. Coach, welcome back.
Appreciate you having me back.
Hey, so Coach, Monday night you guys had your first ever haunted house of hoops here at Sweet Erickson Gymnasium. Why don't you tell everybody how that went?
It was a great event. It was a great turnout. You know, it's one of those things when you do something for the first time, you don't really quite know how it's going to go. So we were anticipating anywhere between 50 and like 600 people, and we probably had in between 200 and 300 people. And you know, it just shows like Casper College really came behind me, and you know, public relations did a great job marketing it. I had a foundation help with a photo booth, financial aid and student services help decorate and do all these things. So it was awesome just to like have so many people willing to help and put on a great event. It was a good turnout and guys had fun. Women's team had a lot of fun. So
good. And you can see the public obviously going to back this Casper College team. Both the men's and women's basketball team always get a ton of support from Casper. What was it like getting a chance to be in front of the public for the first time?
Well, it was nice, and I think when you do an event where there's no strings attached, where it's just a free event for the community and for families, I think people are always on board, you know, especially during the holidays, trying to create those opportunities, because as a parent, I know, like, things can get expensive, whether it's Christmas or Halloween, so something free for, you know, families to go to and enjoy, play some games, get some candy, watch the teams participate and stuff. It was a good time.
Sure. So at the high school this morning, we had a handful of kids that were dressed in costumes. Best one I saw, I had a first grader dressed as Coach Prime, and it was awesome. What was the best costume you saw Monday night?
You know, there were some good ones. You know, there were some people that were definitely in like the more traditional, like go to that store and buy an outfit. Sure. I'm probably going to have to give my son a shout out because my wife worked real hard. Yeah. He wanted to be a treasure hunter.
Okay.
So my wife figured out all these like gold bracelets, and he had his bucket hat on. He had a shirt from Egypt. He definitely pulled off the treasure hunter look. So.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, hey, so Coach, we talked a little bit about your background last week. Let's talk some hoops this week.
Cool.
Okay. You're coming into a new program. Sean Gutting been the coach here for the last couple of years. You're taking over here. What can we expect? Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. What kind of things are you trying to do offensively without obviously giving too much away to your competitors that are probably watching this show?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we like to play up-tempo, definitely playing together. You know, I think teams that are tough and that are together have a great chance at winning the game regardless how ugly the game may be. But we always want to advance the ball. We want to play together. We want to create driving gaps. So we have some guys that can really shoot it. We have some guys that can really break down guys off the dribble. So we want to create the biggest driving gaps we can. We do a lot of dribble drive motion stuff. A few Princeton concepts and sets that flow into that if the defense is set up. But first and foremost, like whether it's a make or a miss, like we want to get the ball out and we want to push it up the floor. That way the defense is never in a position where they can relax and get in the right position where they're kind of scrambling from the start of the play. So that's kind of offensively what we try to do.
Sure, that's definitely a type of brand of basketball that people really want to enjoy watching. They're going to really enjoy that. On the defensive side, you know, watching you guys in a jamboree a couple weeks ago, you guys showed a little bit of a press. Is that something that we're going to see a lot of this year?
Yeah, you know, it's something I haven't always traditionally done. It's something that we made a switch with my team last year. A few games in, we weren't having a ton of success in the half court, so we wanted to open it up. And I kind of questioned myself, like, why haven't we done this more? You know, I don't know if there's a coach or a player in the country or a point guard in the country that when the ball's being inbounded, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This team's pressing us right now. And so I think it's just one of those things. It's a little bit annoying. You know, we got some pests on the ball. We'll show a couple of different looks, both man and zone presses. And again, like our whole philosophy defensively is to keep the defense uncomfortable. You know, especially if a team is normally running a bunch of sets, we want to take them out of that stuff. We want to speed them up. We're not running a press to try to slow teams down. Sure. We want the possessions to go up. You know, we're going to get scored on sometimes, but we want to get the ball out of the net and push it down the floor and score right back and get into it again.
Which, again, you know, an exciting brand of basketball. Right. You're going to be playing 90 feet both ways the whole time. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, I think that at our level, so much is about recruiting.
Sure.
And, if we average 85 points per game, that's a lot more points to go around than if we average 65 points a game. And every point matters. And it's the first thing college coaches do at the next level is they look at the stats.
Sure.
And then they're going to dive into the film and see if it's a fit for them. But, yeah, it's important that our fans get a good product. And I think our guys enjoy playing that way. We're also able to play a bigger rotation because guys are going to get tired quicker. Sure. So there's a lot of different reasons why we do it.
Absolutely. And, Coach, they talk a lot about how a team will take on the personality of their coach. What are some qualities as a guy like you coming into this program brand new? You get a handful of guys from last year, a couple of new guys this year. What are some things that we can expect from this team based on the way that their coach is?
For sure. Well, I guess probably my favorite word in the entire world is passion.
Sure.
I'm a very passionate coach. I love the game of basketball. I love bringing energy every day. It's not something where I think I got to be in my office and hype myself up for practice or a game. I mean, I woke up this morning, I thought it was game day because I was so excited and, just kind of anxious for everything to start. But definitely passionate. I think our guys will play with a lot of passion. Hardworking, detail-oriented. Some of those things obviously is more of a learning curve and something that we have to instill in them. But there's a lot of small details that really impact winning that I think a lot of high school players and incoming freshmen don't really understand. So some of that's going to be a learning curve, but our goal is to be playing the best basketball we can be playing, in February and going into the last round of conference and tournament play. And I think if it's a constant, daily mission to work on those things and to hold the team accountable to doing some of those small things, we may not see the result from it right away, but if we continue to do it, we will down the stretch.
Sure. Well, and the great thing about that, you use a lot of those words, and I would associate a lot of those words with the fan base here in Casper. You say the word passionate, you look at these fans that have come into every single game and have been coming to games for the last 15, 20, 25 years. I think there's a lot that these people from Casper are going to relate to.
For sure. I tell you what, I think that it's important that our basketball team also emulates what we see in the community. And, growing up in Wyoming and being back here now, I mean, Casper is full of a lot of really tough people.
Sure.
Even just to get up every day early and go to work and to work long hours and to deal with the wind and the cold. Yeah. And, it's one of those things, you got to be a tough-minded person to not only, live here but also thrive and enjoy living here. Sure. And I think it's important that our team emulates that toughness and that grit that all these people, the hardworking people of Casper, have done for so many years. And there's a lot of people that support this program for years and years and years that have built businesses and built family success based on a lot of those principles. And that's what we want to do on the court because it's important that we have a product that people are proud of.
Sure, absolutely. So you guys have had the opportunity, you went and played in a couple of jamborees, you guys went down to Denver, you went to Salt Lake. Talk a little bit about, not just some of the things that you saw from your team, but also the opportunity to see a lot of different styles of basketball over the couple of days that you were there.
Right. Well, I can tell you this. I think junior college basketball is a very underrated level. There's a lot of really great players. There's a lot of really great coaches. It's kind of all part of, a lot of people's story, both in the coaching profession and guys that are trying to make a name as a player. And being at these jamborees, sometimes it's just overwhelming to just see how many different types of teams there are, all the different levels of talent. And you have some of the teams that aren't great that have a few really good players. You're like, dang, how did they get those guys? And you got a team, which we'll talk about a little bit later, Salt Lake, that they look like a high major Division I team when they're warming up. So, and a lot of times when they're playing. And so it's just one of those things, man. It's a great opportunity to go against different teams. It's also, you don't want your teams to walk away undefeated and blowing teams out, but you also don't want them to lose every game. I think there's a happy medium where the most important thing is to learn and to grow. And, I don't think it's about wins and losses in the preseason. I think it's about getting better. I think it's about, we're going to work on this press that we put in 3 days ago, and it's going to be ugly, and it's probably going to cost us some points and maybe a game, but let's learn by playing against somebody else versus saving it, doing it in practice, and then having that, getting exposed in that first game where we're trying it out, which actually counts.
Sure, you talk about failing forward, right?
Right.
You're going out there, you're making some mistakes, but the other thing is you get to see a lot of different styles of basketball. I saw you guys got pressed quite a bit when you were down in Salt Lake, which is something that you might not see a ton this year, but man, when you get an opportunity to see it, you're obviously going to be a little bit more prepared because you had a chance to go against it.
Exactly. We got pressed, we got zoned. We didn't have a single zone set in when we got zoned. And we were playing, Utah State Eastern, who we don't play during the regular season. They zone for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an unorthodox zone. And it's one of those things where, we had to learn on the fly. We had to draw some stuff up in timeouts. We had to just learn how to play basketball against the zone. And I think when you have those experiences, when the result of the game doesn't really matter, it's great because, like you said, you can fail forward. You know, you can learn from film. We got a lot of great film from the Jamborees. That's another thing is practice. You're going against the same people every single day.
Right.
Same defense, you know, same principles, and to go against somebody else and to be able to go watch it on film, that's a really important thing for our team, especially our freshmen.
Yeah. So let's talk about the guys just a little bit. I mean, you come in, you got here early June. You got a handful of guys who are eligible to come back. Talk about what that conversation was like with Darius Robinson, with Jaden Peters, Dre Marich, the three guys that you get to return. How did that start and come about?
Yeah, well, I mean, it started on my, you know, even though I wasn't officially hired, like it started on my interview process, watching the team, meeting with some of the returners after the fact, and then once, you know, I was hired and it became public, you know, it was an ongoing conversation. I think certain guys were bought in more than others because of their connection with Casper College, and I think everyone chooses a school for a different reason. There's a lot of guys that signed up to play for Coach Gutting, you know, or that the previous assistant recruited. And so, you know, there's a lot of trust that needs to happen really fast. And you talk about a player like Darius Robinson playing in, you know, the biggest camp in the country this summer. I mean, Darius had every single junior college that wanted him, and he was not re-signed yet. And it was just a thing where I would love to say it was me, but I think a lot of it was Darius felt really comfortable at Casper College. Yeah. And I think that, again, shows that this school and this institution, like we're not on an island, you know, over there in athletics at Casper College. The whole school works together, and Darius had relationships with professors. You know, he was comfortable in the dorms. He knew where he was eating every day. And I think it was just this thing, his family felt comfortable with him being at Casper. So then we put in a lot of legwork kind of re-recruiting him. But I'm excited to have all three of those guys back. You know, both they know Casper College, but I think all of them have a chip on their shoulder too. It was just the way things ended last year with losing by a point, and you know, to go to the national tournament, they were so close. They saw another team, you know, rush the court and cut down their own nets, and that's what I told them on my interview. I said, how cool would it be? You know, you guys know what that feels like. Let's go do that to somebody else the following year.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Well, and you got guys that can do a little bit of everything there. You got Darius, who's more of a ball handler and a scorer. Jaden comes in as a defensive-minded guy that played some pretty good minutes last year, and then Dre, obviously, with his size and an ability to both rebound and score it around the rim. Talk about what the rest of the recruiting process was like. You got three guys coming back. Now you got to fill out the rest of this roster. You talked to some guys from your previous school. What was that process like?
Yeah, I mean, it was a process. I mean, I think junior college, we always are used to recruiting a lot of players. And I believe that, you know, I got the job late. I think the biggest struggle that we had is, you know, at my previous school, we had certain needs, right? Okay. So you're going through the year recruiting as if you have these certain needs. All of a sudden, you get a new job, and your needs change. And it's like, oh, well, we maybe didn't need this position now. Now we really need it. And so, you know, we did everything we could to check off the boxes for us, which is, you know, for the love of the game, high character. We want these people to be great representations of themselves and our program, no matter what they're doing. And that's really important to me. We talk about the community of Casper. I think Casper bends over backwards for this team and this institution, and it's important that our guys, you know, are viewed in a certain way off the floor because of that impact. And so there's a lot of things that went into, you know, we want guys that are going to work, you know, outside of the normal hours that are going to get in the gym. And then obviously positionally, you got to find, you know, certain positions to fill out the roster. And then you get to a point in time where you're like, okay, we're probably not finding another 6'10" guy. So who's the best available guy that we can help regardless of position? And so, you know, down the stretch, we had a few signees late, a couple that I think will be pretty impact players for us. And, you know, it's a weird thing. It's like, do you pass on this player not knowing what's behind door number two, right? Or do you take this player and even though there may be someone more talented down the line, you're going to take this player and move on to the next position you got to fill.
And you know, like you said, with junior college, you're doing that every single year, right? You know, instead of filling 7, 8 spots this year, you're filling 10 or 11. And I got to believe that that's a pretty difficult process.
It is, you know, and the pool of players definitely was narrowed down, especially heading into July. So, it's just one of those things. I mean, it's going to be a challenge every year. And now the qualifications to become a qualifier in the NCAA are easier without the test score being counted towards, becoming a qualifier. And so we'll probably have freshmen that are qualified that will leave after a year.
Yeah.
And I think that's what our level's about, right?
Yeah.
It's like it used to be a 2-year thing. You got to get your degree because you're here because of academics. Now with the transfer portal, there's so many guys that are just under-recruited.
Sure.
And so it's a little bit different. So how many guys will we need next year? I have no idea.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and so, we'll dive into player personnel a little bit more over the next couple of weeks. But right now, I want to give you some good news. Tomorrow, when you wake up, it's going to be game day, Coach.
Right.
You guys get an opportunity to go to Western Nebraska, a team that came in. They were 15-16 last year, but really competitive in Region 9. They're always competitive in Region 9. Right. They're always going to compete. They're always going to be pesky. They got 3 guys coming back from their rotation last year. Talk about what it's like for, number one, for the first game of the year, but also kind of what are your expectations and not having any film on a team? Like, what's that like?
Yeah, it's definitely a weird time of year. You're putting together a scouting report and you're trying to find all these things online about players and watch their huddle highlights and all these different things just to try to gain some understanding. But as we all know, like the game's a little bit different at the college level. So using the films from the jamborees and trying to dissect as much as possible, knowing that they probably didn't show everything, just like most teams don't. But it's going to be a tough environment to play in. Yep. It's opening night. I think anytime you're Casper College, there's a target on your back.
Absolutely, especially in Region 9.
Exactly. And, it is a Region 9 game. Sure. So even though it's not a North Sub-Region game, it is a Region 9 game. It's a team that we could see in the postseason, a team that's had a lot of success for decades and decades and produced NBA players. And so it's going to be a tough test for our guys. And, I'd like to say, like, it's going to get easier after that. But we kind of have a gauntlet of a non-conference schedule. And so this is kind of just the first one. And, that's kind of where our focus is on the first one. But like you said, returners, some transfers, some freshmen. It's actually a very similar team makeup as our own team. Okay. And I think it's this time of year, it's like who's going to make the least amount of mistakes, who's going to be the tougher team. Absolutely. And I think those teams usually win at this time of year.
Yeah, so then you talk about that gauntlet. You guys are on the road Wednesday. Friday, finally get a chance to open up at Sweet Erickson Gymnasium. Unfortunately, it's against the 5th-ranked team in the country from Salt Lake City. A lot of times you don't put much stock into the preseason rankings, but, man, Salt Lake is a team that is in that top 10 almost every single year, and if they start there, most of the time they're finishing there.
Yeah, very well-coached team. Kyle Taylor does a great job. He's won a lot of games in his time there, as has the previous coach, Todd Phillips, and some guys. So it's one of those powerhouse junior college programs. We're excited for the challenge. I guess my view on non-conference scheduling, I think a lot of coaches, like to play some easier games and to get some wins and to have a nice little record at the end of the year. But, our main focus is the last 12 games of the regular season in North Sub-Region play. And we want to do everything we can to prepare ourselves. And I don't think there's a better way to prepare yourself than to play against the number 5 team in the country who has, probably 4 or 5 guys over 6'9". Yeah. They've got some of the best JUCO transfers in the country. They got some really good Division I transfers. Like I said earlier, I mean, you watch them warm up, they look like a high major basketball team. And very well coached. That's the thing. When you have a talented team like that that's very well coached, it's going to be a very tough game. But again, I mean, a winnable game, a game that our main goal is to come out and execute our game plan, playing as hard as we can, play together to be the tougher team, and to put ourselves in a situation to win. And I think if we do all those things, we're going to be in a position.
Sure.
But if we do all those things and we don't win, I think as a coach, it's kind of like a John Wooden thing. It's like, what more can I ask of our team except to show up and do everything we ask and to be tough and to give the people a good product. And then we'll come out the next night, win or lose.
Definitely be a great measuring stick for you guys, and obviously coming out and especially on home opening night, making the people of Casper proud and getting to see some really high quality basketball from both sides. So then Saturday, you guys have jump starts, 4 o'clock tip back here at the Swede. Some adult males, is that kind of what you're saying? Like you're going to play against grown men?
Yeah, I think Darius told me last year when they played. I can't remember. Darius might have been talking a little trash and said something, and I'm pretty sure the guy was like, "I don't care about that. I got kids at home." You know what I mean? And so I think it's just going to be a little bit different look for our guys. Sure. Hopefully that press and the fact that last week of practice may have been more of track practice than it was basketball practice.
Yeah.
And hopefully that pays off when you play a team like that who probably gets together here and there and play some noon ball. But,
There you go.
a lot of former college basketball players,
Sure.
some guys that know the game. So it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be your typical out-of-shape all-star team. I think it's, going to be a team that knows how to execute things, that knows how to play the game. So, we'll see what happens. But either way, I think 3 good tests the first week.
Absolutely.
And then we're on the road for a little bit.
So Wednesday night at Western Nebraska, you can catch that game on the Casper College Athletics YouTube page. Home Friday night, 7:30 for Salt Lake, and then home Saturday for Jumpstart on at 4 o'clock here at the Swede. Coach, last question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot here. You've been in Casper now for a couple of months. Do you have a favorite restaurant here in Casper yet?
Man, that's a great. My wife would say Crumble Cookies if that's a restaurant.
Yeah.
She looked up the loyalty points because I use her phone number, and now she starts getting the notifications to her phone.
Okay.
And I'd be lying if Monday morning I didn't look at the menu of Crumble Cookies.
I
So I don't know if that
understand.
counts,
Yeah.
but we've done Day at Fire Rock has been a good one.
Yeah.
We've done a couple date nights there.
Sure.
We really enjoy that spot. And you're back in Wyoming, so you got to hit up Taco John's.
Of course.
You forget how good potato olays are.
Yeah.
And so we've had our fair share of Taco John's because we didn't have that for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I would guess those 3.
I love it. Yep. Well, Coach, hey, good luck this week in all 3 games. We'll be back here next week. Fans, appreciate you tuning in as always. Shoot for the stars, because even if you miss, there's always a chance for an offensive rebound. Thanks.